different things God has done this year, I couldn't help but think about the scriptures that come to my mind with running. For those who know me well, I used to be a full-time runner all year long, track and field, long distance, 800-meter run, the mile, and cross country. And I was also a champion in those events as well. And one of the things that we were constantly told in my youth by amazing coaches was that what we did during our training mattered way more than how we performed during the actual event. Following the training regimen we were given, listening to our coaches, embracing and valuing good running partners that will run with you, not against you, to help you run your race, making certain that you have a training mindset, a champion mindset. All those things, including knowing how to bounce back when you have failed or stumbled and didn't get the best time you wanted. All those things with a training mindset, a champion mindset, help you do well on the actual track later on. To bounce back, the training which builds your character, the training which builds your endurance, all of that matters. And Paul said at one point to be ready in season and out of season, because even if you weren't on deck, you didn't know when you were going to be called upon to start running and to start showing what you're called to do. And so as I was thinking about that this year and the things that have happened in my life, I was encouraged to know that God will help us to finish the race that he's called us to do. He wants us to keep going and not give up. He wants, like Hebrews 12:1 says, to run our race with endurance. He wants us not to give up and to embrace the training that comes with that race. And as we celebrate our testimonies, to remember that that does come with a test. I say that because, speaking vulnerably, there are amazing things that God did this year, but a lot of stuff came against me, and I still have to pray through it. For example, I used to teach full-time in the public school system, gifted social studies, and while I was glad to pray for students and to lift others up, there were so many attacks that happened, sometimes from students and from other administration. Yet God opened up doors for me to still bless people. I was able to go for the first time by myself to Egypt during spring break of this year and travel the entire countryside to see historical spaces dealing with the Exodus account, spaces where Moses found a wife like in Nubia or the lower part of Egypt, upper part of Egypt. I was able to connect with documentarians and historians who traveled across the country, and God did all that even though I was being attacked and going through. Stuff happened not that long afterward, for that matter, that I had to pray through. And despite attacks on my job, I was able to transition by the grace of God to another job. And I was able to go to Canada, Manitoba, Canada, in June of this year for a conference for an organization called NAITS, North American Institute for Indigenous Theological Studies. I was able to connect with other pioneering leaders in the world of Native American Christianity, helping Native Americans and First Nations communities feel represented and respected. I was able to also be a part of a podcast that deals with foster care called Care Impact, and to share my testimony. I was also able in between during Juneteenth to connect with my grandmother on my dad's side and to map out our whole family tree and our genealogy. And even though my grandmother transitioned this year unexpectedly during Thanksgiving, I was thankful that God gave me the grace to do that hard work of knowing where we came from, because it turns out that opened up doors for me to do work in other spaces. I was invited to go to Australia in the land down under to work with other First Nation Aboriginal communities to learn about their history, which is a mirrored experience of African Americans and the freedom struggles we had during the 1960s. I was able to see firsthand the different revivals that happened for Aboriginal followers of Jesus and the different things that they are doing to really address colonialism and the erasure that has come upon the tribes. I was able to travel all across Australia, and for people that stood with me and really honored who I am and valued my calling, I'm very thankful.